Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Faisal Parish. Welcome to the IGEM 2021 Peatland Management session on nature-based solution to climate change in Southeast Asia. Our program today includes 4 distinguished speakers from the ASEAN region who will be sharing their experience and key insights to peatland management and the implication to climate change. We have Dr. Vong Suk, the head of the Environment Division of the ASEAN Secretariat, Ms. SPM Budi Susanti, Director of the Peatland Degradation Control of the Ministry of Environment and Forestry of Indonesia. We have Yang Bahagia Datuk Dr. Muhammad Wat Dahlan, the Senior Director of Forest Management of the Forestry Department of Peninsular Malaysia. And last but not least, we have Ms. Mashasita Darus, the Director of the Air Division of the Ministry of Environment and Water Malaysia, Department of Environment. After the presentations, we will have about a half an hour for panel discussion, Q&A. And we need you, the audience, to contribute your feedback and ideas and questions for us to have a successful session. So overall, we have about another 2 hours where I hope that everyone will learn and enhance the understanding of the significance of peatlands, what has been done for their management in the region, and how we can reduce and monitor emissions. Just a little bit of background on Global Environment Center. We're the co-organizer of this session together with the IGEM Secretariat and other partners. We're a Malaysian non-profit organization. We established more than 20 years ago. We've been working in all the ASEAN member states and at international level. We have different programs on peatland forest, river management and outreach, but our largest program in the ASEAN region is our peatland program. We have implemented more than 240 projects in 20 countries with 160 partners. Just a few of our related projects. This is the measurable action for haze-free sustainable land management in Southeast Asia, or MASA program, which is supporting today's event, where we're working with all of the 10 ASEAN member states to strengthen the capacity for management and prevention of fires and transboundary haze in the ASEAN region. We have also, GEC, been involved in the final review of the ASEAN Peatland Management Strategy, which is now available online. We're implementing the Mekong Peatlands project in Cambodia, Laos PDR, and Myanmar through virtual training programs at the moment. And we're providing ongoing support with assistance of IFAD for peatland national programs in Indonesia and Malaysia, SMPM and SMPI projects. So just a little snapshot of the peatlands in Southeast Asia. Estimated to cover about 23 million hectares, found in almost all of the countries, the largest area being in Indonesia, followed by Malaysia, but all countries have some peatland area. And the peatlands in the region are incredibly important for biological diversity, with many unique and specially adapted species of animal and plant able to live in the unique peatland environment. The peatlands are probably the most critical ecosystem in ASEAN for the regulation of climate change, in that they are the largest carbon stores, and when degraded, they lead to significant emissions. They're also critical for water storage and flood prevention, as well as providing livelihood support and welfare to local communities. They also are able to produce significant non-timber forest products such as gelatong latex. But when they're degraded, then they can lead to very significant problems. An estimated 70% of the peatlands have been cleared, drained, and to some extent degraded over the last 40 years. One of the big results of that is large-scale fires and transboundary haze, but also the drainage and the decomposition of the peatlands leads to significant greenhouse gas emissions. However, in recent years, there's been significant progress with rewetting and restoring peatlands. And we believe that this is one of the most important nature-based solution to climate change in the region. And we hope to learn more about this from the various presentations during today. So what are our conference objectives? To bring together different stakeholders to share experience in managing peatland sustainably and adopting nature-based solution to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the ASEAN region. We hope you'll discover how to overcome the challenges of peatland management through restoration and maintenance and fire prevention, and what are the various multi-stakeholder initiatives ongoing in the region, as well as how to encourage ASEAN leaders, both from government and private sector, to adopt nature-based solutions to climate change in the future. So after the presentations, we will be having the Q&A and discussion session for about 30 minutes. You can see at the bottom of your screen, there's a comments or question section, and please put your questions there. Indicate the name of the speaker you're directing your question to, and please give your question at any time during the session. Don't just wait till the end, ask as the presentations are being made, so then we can also organize and distribute the questions. We'll try to respond to as many questions as the time permits. The sooner you give your questions, the sooner they can get in the queue to be answered. So with that, I'd like to just introduce our distinguished presenters today. As I mentioned, Dr. Vong Suk is the head of the Environment Division and Assistant Director of Sustainable Development of the ASEAN Secretariat. He's more than 20 years experience in global environmental compliance and governance, including in-depth knowledge of strategic environmental planning, environmental diplomacy, operations control for environmental management system. He has a background in both forestry and environmental science and management, and completed a PhD in impact assessment and climate change. So he's very well qualified to lead the work within ASEAN to address environmental management issues. Our second panel member is Ms. SPM Budi Susanti. She's the Director of the Peatland Degradation Control within the Directorate General of Environmental Pollution and Degradation Control of the Ministry of Environment and Forests of Indonesia. She has a bachelor's degree from Yogyakarta and master's from the Rensselaer Polytechnic from New York State. She has a wide experience within the Ministry on pollution control and has been active the last 4 years in guiding the newly established Directorate for Peatland Degradation Control to improve peatland landscape management, working with private sector in water management and implementing the national regulations. Our third speaker is Yang Bahagia Dr. Mohammed Puat Dahlan. He's a Senior Director of Forest Management of Forest Department of Peninsular Malaysia. He has a bachelor, master's, and PhD related to forest management, and has many publications to his name. And he's been active leading State Forestry Department in Selangor, and currently now at the headquarters. Our last speaker, Ms. Matchasita Daras, is the Director of the Air Division of Department of Environment, Ministry of Environment and Water. Been working in Department of Environment for nearly 30 years, ranging from EIA, environmental monitoring, training, highway planning, and haze and air quality management. So I hope that the panel of speakers will be able to satisfy your desire to learn new information on the scope and activities related to peatland management and emission reduction in the ASEAN region. So without further ado, let me ask Dr. Vong Suk of the ASEAN Secretariat to give his presentation on protection and sustainable management of peatland ecosystems in ASEAN. Dr. Vong, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to join you all today at this virtual IGEM 2021. So it's a welcome also to join us for this important conference session organized by the Global Environmental Center for Peatland Management, Nature-Based Solution to Climate Change in Southeast Asia. This is a great opportunity that ASEAN and the champion country come together to show the nature-based solution of the peatland to climate change, where we can do together to make a great impact for our region. So with that, I just would like to present three important for you to take note and learn from what we are doing. One's about the ASEAN Agreement on Transboundary Haze Pollution. Second, about the about ASEAN Peatland Management Strategy. And the third is about lesson learned and the way forward for ASEAN cooperation. So as you may have known, ASEAN is guided by the ASEAN 2025 Forging Ahead Together, which is provide important roadmap for ASEAN to realize further consolidation, integration, stronger cohesiveness of ASEAN community. And in particularly the ASEAN Vision 2025, the ASEAN community that engage and benefit the people and is inclusive, sustainable, resilient, and dynamic. In the AACC Blueprint 2025, ASEAN Environmental Cooperation is guided together the realization of AACC Vision 2025 and a sustainable environment in the face of social change and economic development through achieving the 4 key result area and 27 strategic measures. So with that, I just would like to highlight specific with the ASEAN's Socio-Cultural Blueprint 2025. As you can see here, they have a number of priority area and measure that we identify in our blueprint. While the 3 areas that's very important that fit into this sort of peatland context, one is about the biodiversity and sustainable management of natural resources. And secondly, on the climate change matter. So with that, I think this, peatland is centerpiece of the solution, of the shared solution of the both in terms of sustainable management of biodiversity and climate change issue. So with the ASEAN Agreement on Transboundary Haze, this is one of the main documents that we learn from the experience. Serial of land and forest fire happen in our region regularly, and the severe one, land and forest fire, happened in 97 and 98. The aim is to prevent, monitor, mitigate land and forest fire, to control transboundary haze pollution through the concerted national effort, regional and international cooperation. So the agreement contains some measure important. One, it's a monitoring and assessment. Second, prevention. Third is preparedness. 4, a national and joint emergency response. And the last is about technical cooperation and scientific research. So to guide the implementation of this ASEAN Agreement on Transboundary Haze Pollution, the roadmap on ASEAN cooperation toward transboundary haze pollution control with the means of implementation, it serves as an important document for ASEAN that was adopted by the COP12 in 2016. The roadmap itself serves as a strategic action-oriented and time-bound framework for implementation of the collaborative action to control haze pollution in ASEAN region to achieve the vision of transboundary haze-free ASEAN by 2020. So this is important to note that there are 3 important indicators that have said. One's about increase the number of having good day or moderate air quality in terms of pollutant standard index or air quality index based on PM10 or PM2.5. Reduction of hotspot number below alert level 2 under the ASEAN SOP on haze pollution. And then the third is to decrease transboundary haze pollution area. So with the roadmap, you can see from the slide here, they have 8 strategy, but you may need to pay more attention on few important strategy. On the strategy 2 on the sustainable management peatland for peatland fire prevention. And this really provide you important about the way forward how peatland can manage. The other strategy, which is the strategy to support the other element of not only peatland but also haze. But I mean, it's it's good to take note. I think strategy 3 also about the sustainable agriculture, land and forestry, forest at the forest area or land for prevention land and forest fire. So you can see this is some of the key documents to guide ASEAN for implementation. I mean, the roadmap, of course, just presented, and then ASEAN Peatland Management Strategy. I will spell out in detail later on the our strategy 2006-2020, and then also ASEAN Program on Sustainable Management of Peatland Ecosystem 2014 to 2020. So to guide that, I mean, from the technical standpoint, we have a number of guidelines and standard operation procedure that to guide the implementation and success of the roadmap, as well as the implementation of HES agreement on transboundary HES. So in order to achieve all of this, I mean, institutional framework of ASEAN agreement on transboundary have been established. And as you know, we have at the top, central top here is the conference of the party to the ASEAN agreement on transboundary HES. And then the purple side, it's the sub-regional level. So as you can see, the last one, it's I mean, you can see on the ASEAN Task Force on Peatland, the ATAP. This is important task force that to guide the implementation of the peatland management. So specifically, this group, this task force is oversight the design, implementation, monitoring of ASEAN program on sustainable management of peatland ecosystem, and also the other relevant project and program to facilitate the cooperation with relevant partner. So with the implementation arrangement, we have also specific dedicated center, and that is try to address the issue of HES, which is not necessarily totally with the peatland, but this also to inform the peatland management planning and decision making as well. So we have ASMC, we have also the ASEAN Coordinating Center for Transboundary Haze Pollution. So as you can see, the situation here look not really nice looking, but I mean, that is the issue happen haze pollution in our region in human costs and resulting to estimated 36,000 premature deaths per year. Exposure to air pollutant cause difficulty in breast, aggravate the asthma, increased respiratory symptom in children and older people, as well as many other socio-economic impact. So now I just would like to highlight a specific ASEAN Peatland Management Strategy. I mean, where you would like to hear the ASEAN Peatland Management Strategy itself. I mean, it's a really important document that recognized by the ASEAN member state and established this framework in order in 2002 in order to guide the implementation and management of the peatland in ASEAN region. So, I mean, this one, I mean, because recognize, I mean, 60% of the world tropical peatland are found in our region. That is consists of about 21 to 23 million hectares. So this considered from the global scale, it's significant for our region. Why not only the area important, but also contribute to the value and the function and service of the peatland, and particularly to address the local livelihood where they can benefit from, generation to generation. So the key issue with the peatland management strategy, as you can see early, this have been addressed by a number of initiatives. With the ASEAN Peatland Management Initiative, with ASEAN Peatland Management Strategy that serve to guide action for sustainable management plan to reduce fire associated haze, and a number of peatland related projects that support by our partner. So this is the sum of key achievement that we had done so far. Look at the outcome, number of outcome in terms of capacity of institution and individual for sustainable management of peatland, and reduce the rate of degradation of peatland, integrated management and rehabilitation of peatland, of the target peatland area, and that engage also the local community, private sector to actively contribute to the peatland management. So this is about the ASEAN Program Sustainable Management Ecosystem, which is the guiding document of ASEAN for implementing and coordinating with the partner. So this very clear spell out about the 6 key target area of the plan. One, to identify inventory all the peatland in ASEAN region. 0 burning and control burning to prevent uncontrolled wildfire on peatland and eliminate widespread of the smoke haze. Rehabilitation of fire-prone peatland sites, sustainable management peatland, conservation of peatland and reduce emission of GEC, and also increase peatland biodiversity, implement national action plan on peatland enhancement of national and regional capacity. So ASEAN cannot stand alone. We work with partner. I mean, as you can see, a number of partners involved with us. I mean, as you can see earlier, the sustainable management of peatland under the support of the EU and the GIZ with a clear objective to promote sustainable management of peatland in ASEAN region, and then also the partner with the MASA, support by IFAD, and in collaboration with other partners, C4, GEC. Here's the activity of the MASA program. As you can see, one is on the data information, and second on the knowledge product, and the third is on the coordination. We also cooperate with the NGO, I mean, with the World Conservation Union, IUCN, and under the Global Environmental Facility, states that the project on sustainable management of peatland ecosystem in the Mekong country, that includes particularly Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar. So, I mean, the objective and the shared solution is similar, but it's target for the Mekong country, where the peatland have a specific characteristic as a part of integral of the wetland and other ecosystem type. Look, in spite of a lot of effort that we put, and also, I mean, with the all the collaboration with partner and ASEAN member state, there's some challenge is still significant there. I mean, in terms of the expansion and clearing of peatland for different purposes, especially for agriculture and or industrial crop. Second thing, I mean, it's as you may have noted, I mean, climate change, it's an extreme drought. I mean, our region is one of the most vulnerable regions that lead to higher temperature, and also the limited information on peatland condition characteristic in some of the geographic extent. So also low understanding or limited understanding or poor practice of sustainable management of peatland, not to put the priority also on the investment when it comes to national development, as well as the investment of the other. So with that, I would like to share with you about lesson learned in the way forward so far. So, I mean, this come up from the final review and implementation of the PMS. I mean, this is the assignment that conducted by the Global Environmental Center in collaboration with ASEAN member states. First of all, you can see this is the way we try to look at the enhanced awareness raising capacity on the peatland. So the assessment found that the AMA have designated a focal point agency related to peatland management, and several have established national committee on peatland. Second point, on addressing transboundary pollution and environmental degradation, significant action have been taken by AMA to minimize transboundary haze and environmental degradation related to peatland, especially in the sustainable and the southern ASEAN region where the most peatland occur. To promote sustainable management of peatland, all AMA have registered, recognize the importance of the sustainable management of peatland and water management, as it recognized as one of the most critical aspects of the peatland. And the startup of peatland, a large number of regional international conference, workshop, training program have been recognized. So with the final review of the implementation of APMS, I mean, the key criteria of assessment, including appropriateness or relevant, effectiveness, efficiency, impact, and sustainability. You can see, I mean, the roadmap, it's very much useful, and we have a lot of progress. As you can see from this presentation, the APM is still very relevant to ASEAN international framework and international cooperation. So the way forward as a priority for period 2021 to 2030, this will be later on discussed and work with the ASEAN member states. So that is the way forward. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wong Suk from the ASEAN Secretariat for your very enlightening presentation about the ASEAN response and management strategy related to peatlands and cooperative activities. To the audience, please send in your questions. Please fill them in the question box at the bottom of your screen as soon as possible so we can prepare for the Q&A session later. It is now my pleasure to give the floor to Ms. SPM Budi Susanti of the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Indonesia, to give a presentation on Indonesian national governance framework and action for peatland conservation, management, and greenhouse gas emission reduction. The floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depend on where you are right now. My name is SPM Budi Susanti, Director for Peatland Degradation Control from the Directorate General Pollution and Environmental Degradation Control, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry in Indonesia. It is my pleasure to join this valuable conference to share for what Indonesia has been done for peatland protection and management. Indonesia has peatland fourth largest in the world after Canada, Russia, and the United States. The largest tropical peatland in the world is in Indonesia. Indonesia also storing carbon peat reserve reached 46 gigaton, or about 15% of the carbon peatland in the world. The total area of Indonesia peatland ecosystem at about 24.67 million hectares and 865 PHU under the ministerial decree, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry decree number 130 year 2017 on national peatland ecosystem function map with the scale 1 to 250,000. This is the milestone on the regulation of the protection and management of peatland ecosystem in Indonesia, started with the presidential decree number 32 year 1992, and the newest regulation is the government regulation number 71 year 2015 Junto government regulation number 57 2016 regarding on the peatland protection and management in Indonesia, and this government regulation number 71 2014 Junto government regulation number 57 year 2016 regarding on the protection and management of peatland ecosystem, and several Ministry of Environment and Forestry regulation for operational implementation guideline in the field. The newest Ministry of Environment and Forestry decree number 246 year 2020 on the national long-term for protection and management of peatland ecosystem 2020-2049. This is the implementation strategy based on the government regulation number 71 2014 Junto government regulation number 57 2016. This government regulation consists of the several mandates. Scope of this government regulation consists of the planning, utilization, controlling, maintenance, supervision, administration, sanction. This government regulation also give mandate for the national government to inventory the peatland ecosystem characteristic, to determine of the peat ecosystem function, to develop the peat ecosystem protection and management plan, to conduct the restoration, and also consists of the restriction on the utilization of the peat ecosystem. Inventory of the peatland ecosystem characteristic is conducted for the reference in the determination of peat hydrological unit and peat ecosystem function, and also to develop the peatland protection and management plan and restoration activities based on the peat hydrological unit. This is the Ministry of Environment and Forestry Decree number 129 year 2017 regarding determination of national peat hydrological unit map, and also this is the Ministerial of Environment and Forestry Decree number 130 2017 regarding on the determination of national indicative map of peat ecosystem function with scale 1 to 250,000. This is the coverage area of peat ecosystem function in Indonesia at national level with scale 1 to 250,000. In each province, there are 19 provinces that have peatland ecosystem. Each province has different number of peat hydrological unit and different area, either peat ecosystem cultivation and also peat ecosystem conservation function. As I already mentioned, this is the newest Ministry of Environment and Forestry Decree number 246 regarding on the national long-term planning for protection and management of peatland ecosystem in Indonesia to 2020-2049, and also the government, the ministerial decree number 60 year 2019 regarding on the guideline for the compilation, stipulation, and addendum of the planning for protection and management of peatland ecosystem. And the next is state of peatland ecosystem degradation that we already determined with the scale of 1 to 250,000. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the safeguard. This is the safeguard for the protection and management of peatland ecosystem in the concession holder, starting from the principal permit, the environmental impact assessment, environmental permit, until the next step is monitoring and surveillance for the implementation of peatland protection and management in the concession area. From 2015 until 2020, the achievement on peatland characteristic inventory scale 1 to 50,000 is already conducted in 207 peatland hydrological unit and already determined at 33 PHU. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the safeguard for protection and management of peatland ecosystem and concession holders, started with principal permit, environmental impact assessment, environmental permit, and then followed by monitoring and surveillance. So this complete section is for the protection and management peatland ecosystem and the concession holders. This is the achievement on peatland characteristic inventory scale 1 to 50,000 from 2015 to 2020. We already conduct peatland characteristic inventory on 207 PHU and determine of the peatland ecosystem function scale 1 to 50,000 in 33 PHU. This is the achievement of supervision for establishing peatland protection and management plan in provincial, district, and city level. We already conduct supervision for 7 provinces in 2019 and 12 provinces in 2020. In the screen, we can see that we already achieved the restoration areas of peatland ecosystem in the concession holders. Until November 2020, we already encouraged the concession holders. 294 companies already developed the peatland restoration plan document as reference to conduct the peatland restoration in the concession holders. The area that already restored in the concession holders at about 3.6 billion hectares. We developed the monitoring station for groundwater level at about 2,857 units. So this is already a big effort and achievement from the peatland restoration in the concession holder until 2020. From the restoration in the concession holders, as I already mentioned before, that we have had about 10,857 units of monitoring station for groundwater level in the peatland ecosystem and concession holders. We also have about 816 units of weather station. The data will go to our system at CIMATAC minus 0.4 meter. That from the data we can see every updated data of groundwater level in the concession holders. This is one of the company groundwater level data from the CIMATAC minus 0.4 meter. We can see the graph here is the information on the groundwater level. The blue color means that they already comply to the regulation. In the non-concession area, which is in the community area, we also conduct the peatland restoration with development of Desa Mandiri Peduli Gambut, or what we call peat self-supporting village. The step of the implementation for the peat self-supporting village is provided here. The first step, we will work together with the university, the closed university, and also the local government to determine the facilitators. And the facilitator will assist the community to develop an identification and analysis of the problem, not only related to the peatland protection and management, but also the community have to develop mapping on economic, social, and other related, for example, the institutional that already provided at the village level. And the next step is conducted the development of what we call TKPPEG. TKPPEG is an institutional at the village level for peatland protection and management. And the member of the TKPPEG, assisted by the facilitator, will develop the what we call rencana kerja masyarakat or community work plan. Not only what they propose to do for peatland protection and management, but also for the economic revitalization. The three principles for the implementation of peat self-supporting villages consists of rewetting, is updated the water management in the peatland and community area, and rehabilitation and revegetation. And the third one is economic revitalization. So the community knowingly regarding to the peatland protection and management, and also want to enroll in these activities and capable, not only know, but also want and able to participate in the peatland protection and management in the community area. Ladies and gentlemen, this screen shows that how, who do and what during the activities of peatland protection and management in the community area. The first one is training for the facilitators, and then facilitators will interactive with the community to conduct inventory, establish the institutional, what we call TKPPEG, and then develop of the peatland inventory and analysis, problem analysis, and then develop of the what we call rencana kerja masyarakat or community work plan, and then this document for the community work plan will send to the Ministry of Environment and Forestry to get support to implement not only for budget but also supervision and also other potential encouragement for having network to the other community institutional and other related stakeholders to support the implementation of rencana kerja masyarakat. It is the achievement of the Desa Mandiri Peduli Gambut, or what we call peat self-supporting village from 2016 until 2020. We already conduct Desa Mandiri Peduli Gambut at 236 desa or village with the coverage area at about 46,000 hectares from Aceh into Central Kalimantan, East Kalimantan, North Kalimantan, South Kalimantan. And this is the training for facilitators conducted in collaboration with university and local government. This is the process of the problem identification and analysis, what we call IMAS, conducted by the community, assisted by the facilitator, and also they both develop the community work plan, what we call RKM. This is the example of the document for the community IMAS and also the RKM document. One village usually not only have one work plan, community work plan. Sometimes they have more than one, more than four, but we try to accept, to facilitate, and how they implement. And this is the field monitoring and evaluation for Desa Mandiri Peduli Gambut. Sometimes the location is in the remote area that we have to use several type of, for example, we have to get from Jakarta with a train, and then we use sometime with what we call small kapal gitu ya. And then also sometimes we have to walk, and this area usually don't have network by GSM, so it is difficult to communicate each other in that area. So just kind of village in a remote area. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the rewetting and rehabilitation, revegetation on Desa Mandiri Peduli Gambut activities. In the left side is the process of the rewetting by the community, and the right side is the result of the rehabilitation, revegetation, replanting with agroforestry, paludiculture, and several other that sustainably for peatland ecosystem. This is the product of the economic revitalization from the Desa Mandiri Peduli Gambut. We can see sometimes they plant pineapple, nice, and also bee, honeybee, and several others, fisheries, and so on. In 2020, we developed 663 canal blocking were constructed in the area of 1 million hectares peatland in central Kalimantan. Canal blocking constructed will restore the hydrological function of the 36,000 hectares peatland in central Kalimantan. This is the map, the location of the 663 canal blocking in area that we already developed in Central Kalimantan province. This is the location of Desa Mandiri Peduli Gambut. We we develop about 47 villages and also 6 villages in the Central Kalimantan for supporting the food estate and national economic recovery. Ladies and gentlemen, in supporting our activity and providing information for the citizen support system, we develop of the information system for protection and management of Indonesia peatland ecosystem in Indonesia, an integrated system from field monitoring and integrated with satellite imagery. We develop what we call CPEC. CPEC consists of several subsystems, among others, Sipalaga, Simatak, and also the information regarding of the canal blocking that we develop in the spreaded area in 19 provinces in Indonesia. From this system, we can provide data regarding on the peatland quality index, peatland water level, early warning system, water balance, calculation of greenhouse gas emission reduction, peatland environmental performance rating for the concession holders, and also the achievement of mainstreaming gender and SDGs goals. So this is the CPEC. This is the multi-layer monitoring of integrated smart web-based operational room for planning, operation database, surveillance, early warning system, calculation of greenhouse gas emission reduction, and also calculation of water balance. We also provide the update data of the achievement of mainstreaming gender. In this layer, we can see several buttons that the public can gain the data from this system. But not all data can be accessed by the public. Some other data only for decision support system. From the achievement of peatland protection and management in Indonesia, we can calculate the total achievement of greenhouse gas emission reduction, CO2 equivalent. Up to 2020, the total CO2 emission reduction can be calculated from the concession area at about 364 million ton CO2 equivalent, and from the community area at about 40,000 hectares, and CO2 equivalent at about 1,463 CO2 equivalent. This is the website that we provide, used to outreach for policy works and achievement, public of best practice, publication of best practice, tutorial on peatland restoration, and bank of peatland knowledge protection and management. Ladies and gentlemen, this is in the screen is the launching of Center of Information System, or what we call Media Center, for environmental restoration by Her Excellency Ibu Siti Nurbaya, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, and Head of Commission for Environment, Parliament House of Indonesia, in February 26, 2019. Thank you. Have a very fruitful discussion. Should you have any question, please share in the chat box, or we can send mail to this website. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. SPM Budi Susanti of Ministry of Environment and Forestry Indonesia, for giving us a very comprehensive update of all of the activities undertaken by the ministry and the different agencies and stakeholders in Indonesia for peatland management. I just have a technical announcement to make that the IGEM organizers need to change from the current platform to a YouTube live platform. And so you will need to refresh the page in a moment. And I'm sorry, this will lead to a slight delay. I think we will be having a formal announcement when to refresh the page. So after this, our next speaker, let me introduce again Dato' Haji Muhammad Puat Dahlan from the Forestry Department of Peninsular Malaysia, who will be talking about sustainable management of peatland landscape in Malaysia as a nature-based solution. But I'm just again reminding that we will need to change over from to YouTube and that we need to change the streaming. So please, all of you who are watching, please do the refresh in a moment, or you should see some message on your screen. In addition, please keep sending in the questions on the chat box. We have received, I think, 7 questions so far, but please keep additional questions to come in so that we can handle them in the next session. Thank you. So Dr. Puat, please go ahead with your presentation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon and salam sejahtera. First and foremost, on behalf of Forestry Department Peninsular Malaysia, I would like to take this opportunity to convey my sincere gratitude and appreciation to IGM for inviting us to participate in this panel discussion focusing on peatland management, nature-based solution to climate change in Southeast Asia. And the topic given to me this afternoon is sustainable management of peatland landscapes in Malaysia as a nature-based solution. So my presentation today will cover 5 topics which runs as follows. First, overview of forest resources in Malaysia, followed by laws and regulation, and then major types of forests in Peninsular Malaysia, functions of peat swamp forest, and lastly, issues and challenges. So during my presentation, I will only touch on the subject matters which are related to Peninsular Malaysia. However, some of the activities may also be applied or carried out in Sabah and Sarawak region as well. So before I proceed further with my presentation, I would like to offer my sincere apology to the organizer, moderator, and fellow panelists, as well as the audience, for not being able to join the Q&A session this afternoon due to my earlier commitment, which is also scheduled today. Ladies and gentlemen, as of 2018, the total forested area in Malaysia was estimated to be 18.27 million hectares, or equivalent to 55.31% of the total land area. So of this total area, some 10.92 million hectares are represented by forest reserve, while the remaining 4.04 and 3.31 million hectares being state land and forest protected areas, respectively. So this reflects the country's commitment to conserve and sustainably manage our forests, while realizing the ecosystem function of the peatland, the roles and contribution to our nation building as a whole. So it is indeed exceeding Malaysia's initial commitment or pledge made in the Rio Earth Summit 1992, which is to maintain at least 50% of our land mass under forest cover. Under the Malaysian Constitution, Article 74(2), forestry comes under the jurisdiction of the respective state's government. So as such, each state is empowered to enact laws on forestry and to formulate forestry policy independently, but must be in line with the Mother Act at the federal level. So at the same time, the executive authority of the federal government is to provide the advice and technical assistance to the states, matters on training, research, and on the aspect of maintenance of experimental and demonstration stations. According to Article 91(5) of Federal Constitution, clearly indicates that the functions of the National Land Council, NLC, are to formulate from time to time a national policy for the promotion and control of the utilization of land throughout the Federation, especially for mining, agriculture, forestry, or any other purposes, and for the administration of any laws relating thereto, and the federal and the state government shall follow the policy as deemed formulated. So this slide will shows the distribution and extent of forest areas by major forest types in Peninsular Malaysia. It is estimated that some 4.47 million hectares are the inland tropical forests, with the remaining 0.25 and 0.09 million hectares being peat swamp forests and mangrove forests, respectively. Although the extent of peat swamp forest is relatively small as compared to the inland forest, but the roles and functions played by these forests is deemed vital. So as we all know, peat swamp forests play various functions such as maintaining water balance, whereby peat swamp forest contains about 90% of water in the peat, and the water or storage function helps in maintaining water levels and act as flood control for communities and downstream ecosystem. Biodiversity conservation, whereby peat swamp forests provide support for biological diversity and provide food resources, water and habitats to plants, mammals, aquatic life, and as well as others as well. Thirdly, climate and carbon storage. Here, we can see that healthy peat swamp forests can actively sequestrate carbon and balancing carbon emission from fossil fuels. Livelihood, whereby communities living close to peatland area used to benefit from the ecosystem services as being provided by the forest. Next, research and education. As one of the full wonders of nature, with the uniqueness of flora and fauna, peat swamp ecosystem be able to record changes in vegetation and climate within the peat soil layer, and this can help in understanding peatland ecosystem changes over a long period of time. 6, recreation and ecotourism. So peat swamp forests have the potential to be promoted as an area of recreational activities such as fishing, jungle trekking, ecotourism destinations, bird watching, forest bathing, and many others to come. So therefore, ecotourism can contribute to the local economics with the development of basic facilities and increase the number of visitors. So my next presentation will also discuss and highlight the management and conservation activities over the years by the Forestry Department of Peninsular Malaysia, especially in combating forest fire. The National Action Plan for Peatland, NAPP, is one of the most important documents or tools in monitoring sustainable management of peatland in ASEAN member states. So most ASEAN member states have worked out on their NAPPs, and many are already in use. The NAPP was finalized and adopted by the Malaysian government in January 2011. So this document actually has been translated into Bahasa Melayu, the national language, and disseminated to various government agencies for its implementation. So updating and operationalization of the current NAPP will be one of the important agenda in carrying out the program or activities with regard to the conservation and management of the peat swamp forest in Malaysia. Further efforts on management and conservation of peat swamp forest in Peninsular Malaysia was supported through the allocation under the Malaysian Development Plans, that is 10th Malaysia Plan, 11 Malaysia Plan, and as well as under the current 12th Malaysian Plan. Through this 5-year Malaysia Plan, the Government of Malaysia allocated annual budget to meet the requirement and the expenditure for the successful management of the conservation of peat swamp forests. So under the budget approved to the Forestry Department, a total of 2 water reservoirs and a 4-kilometer access road, plus 3 kilometers of high-density polyethylene pipe, together with 8 tube wells, was constructed to ensure the water level within the peat swamp forest remain at its optimum level. So this also include procurement of equipment for firefighting, training of officers, rehabilitation of degraded area due to the forest fire, awareness campaign, and involvement of various stakeholders, including the communities of masyarakat or communities of orang asli. Additionally, 3 check dams, 2 observation towers, and more than 5 kilometers of fire break has been constructed and maintained under the same allocation. So these activities, projects will be carried out continuously, just to make sure that our peat swamp forest is in a good state. Although various efforts has been taken by Forestry Department Peninsular Malaysia in managing and conserving peat swamp forests, we are still facing with several issues and challenges. Firstly, forest fires still remain a big threat, even though areas affected decreasing as compared to the previous years. Secondly, rapid developments around peat swamp forests are putting pressure, and the acquisition of land for other than non-forestry land use purposes is still on demand. Peat swamp forests will continue to play an important role for indigenous and local communities' livelihood in terms of cultural and subsistence activities. And these need to be preserved. Rehabilitation and restoration of degraded and burned peat swamp forests are ongoing and needs cooperation from various stakeholders to ensure successful of this initiative. Despite these issues and challenges, the department are always committed and will continue our effort to strive in managing and conserving peat swamp forests in Peninsular Malaysia. These initiatives are strongly supported through special projects, namely Sustainable Management of Peatland Ecosystem in Malaysia, SMPEM, funded by IPAD, GEF, and thanks also due to GEC for being part of our successful story. With that, I will end my presentation. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much. Dr. Puat, for your presentation on the management of peat swamp forest in Malaysia. Thank you for the participants about the changeover. We've changed to a different platform, particularly to enhance access for Indonesia. If any of you experienced any problem, please refresh the screens. Please also continue to send in your questions on the presentation. And now we will move to our last presentation for the session, and that is Ms. Mashita Daras, the Director of the Air Division of Department of Environment, who will share with us about the Malaysian National Program for Peatland Fire Prevention. Ms. Mashita, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, moderator, for letting me in. Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon to all. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizer for inviting me to this webinar session to talk about our experience in Malaysia on managing the peatland. Before that, should I share the screen? I'll be talking on Malaysian National Program for Peatland Fire Prevention. I'm from Department of Environment, Malaysia, of Air Division. As a start, I would like to introduce you about Malaysia peatland, which is there are about 2.56 million hectares of peatland, with the largest in Sarawak, with an area of 1.6 million hectares, followed by in Peninsular Malaysia, which is about 700,000 over hectares, and also in Sabah, which is about 200,000 over hectares. And as you know, peatland naturally have a high moisture content, and it is important ecosystem in Malaysia in order to control climate, carbon storage, flood mitigation, biodiversity conservation, and it is also can absorb water during the rainy seasons and release it gradually during the dry season. Peat swamp forest, especially in Malaysia, provides a wide range of largest forest products and also services, whether directly or indirectly, in the form of forestry and fishery product, as well as supply water sources to the surrounding agricultural areas and also domestic consumption. I'll show you the map. This is the map of peatland in Malaysia. Based on this map, you can see the green shaded area is the peatland, and the most peatland are in Sarawak, which is about 64% of total peatland in Malaysia, equivalent to 1.6 million hectares. This peatland covers 13.2% of the total area in Sarawak. This is different from Selangor. Selangor, where 21.75% of the area is peatland, although the area is small, about 6.77% of the total peatland areas in Malaysia. Peatland fires in tropical ecosystem is a major environmental problem in Malaysia and Southeast Asia. Peat fires are found to be frequent every year, especially during the dry season. And the burning of peat biomass produces ash, dust, smoke across the border, and normally we call it as transboundary haze. And the situation is considered as serious in this region because it occurs almost every year. And if it is not addressed accordingly, it can have impact to our society, environment, and economy as a whole. The causes of peatland fires normally because of peat clearing for agricultural and plantation activities, and because this is an old traditional method that involve process of drying through ditch drainage, and also because of slash and burn activities. In some areas in Sabah and Sarawak, they have, in rural areas, they have activities which is called as shifting cultivation that is practiced by the villagers in the rural area in Sabah and Sarawak. And secondly, because of unplanned drainage system development that cause diversion of peat water flow and peatland clearing for development. And thirdly, because of cigarette butts and also campfires. This is also very important. It sounds like very simple, but the impact is very enormous, especially in the forest reserve, peatland forest reserve. And wind is the major factors that cause the spread out of fires in the peatland area. And another reason for the peat fires are because of the dry peatland environment, because of due to lack of vegetation covers to maintain the moisture content in the peat soil environment. And last but not least, this is because of recreational activities such as camping, fishing. Camping, people are doing barbecue and grill, and using fire, and also they are also smoking in the peatland areas. That's why the cigarette butts also is a major important cause of peatland in Malaysia. It is clearly shown that the biggest one is in Sarawak, which is about 64% of the total peatland in Malaysia. The red shade area is the fire prone area in Malaysia. In total, this is about 204,100 hectares of peatland throughout Malaysia. Throughout Malaysia, a fire risk area. This risk area were obtained based on hotspot information through satellite, as well as fire information reported through our ground surveillance. Preventive measures to control fires in peatland are more practical compared to firefighting works in those areas. That's why Malaysia, we have come up with fire prevention program, so-called Peatland Fire Prevention Program to overcome haze in Malaysia. And this program has started in 2009 with the virtue of coordination with other agencies and also support from relevant agencies in Malaysia. And this program, some background of this program was established especially to prevent the occurrence of haze due to prolonged fires in peatland areas, and also to reduce carbon emissions that caused by the peatland fires. And this is eventually can reduce the global warming impact. The program started in 2009 under the 9 Mission Plan, and it's continued until today, until the 12th Mission Plan with the title of Peatland Fire Prevention and Monitoring Program and Other Fire Risk Areas to Overcome Haze, where cover some other areas, and this program has extended to other areas such as landfill, vegetation covers, and also some other fire risk area in Malaysia. The main factor in the occurrence of fires in peat areas are due to dryness of water in the peat soil. Through this program, 5 types of infrastructure have been constructed to control the risk of fires, and this involve 7 states which has peatland. One is Selangor, Pahang, Kelantan, Johor, Terengganu, Sabah, and Sarawak. And this program, the priority is to increase the humidity of peatland, so that they do not easily burn and dry out during the dry season, and also provide source of water for fire suppression purposes in the event of fire in the peatland. And in addition, monitoring is also done through watchtower and also drone monitoring, along with the field monitoring in peatland as an early preventive measures. To date, a total of 292 check dams, 89 tube wells, 15 water reservoirs, 5 watchtowers, and 3 kilometers of water pipelines have been built and are operating nationwide as to date. Functions and objectives of peatland infrastructure construction are as follows. 1, check dam. Check dam is a barrier that crosses a drainage in order to restore the hydrological system of peatlands by increasing drainage water levels and groundwater levels, and also to control and slow down peat water production. And thirdly, to retain water in drains or ditches to supply water resources for fire suppression works by the related agencies. And second one is on tube well. This is an underground water structures and that extract water resources from underground aquifer using power of submarine pump or engine pump. And this is also used to wet and flood the dry and burn peatland areas during the dry season, and also to increase the level of drainage water or nearby ponds to supply water resources, especially during the firefighting operation. Thirdly is water reservoir. This is a ponding system that stagnates and supplies a source of water all the time so that it can be used for firefighting and also to wet the peatland. And thirdly is the water pipeline. Is a construction of high density polyethylene pipe, and it is an innovative approach to prevent and control the risk of peat fire in degraded peatlands. Especially in Malaysia, we use it in forest reserve to channel in the water from outside into the forest reserve, especially during the fire breaks out, to reduce the fires and also to dry the area. And this is used by channeling water pump from water reservoir, such as mine or residual ponds, to areas that are often burned and far to get inside. As I mentioned just now, such as in forest reserve. This is a very important infrastructure. And last but not least, this is wash tower. This is meant for monitoring. This is a stable structure constructed at a height of 70 to 100 feet from the ground. And normally we man the people here to monitor, and also the area beneath we use for people to monitor, and also to start with drone monitoring. They also can use the facility at the watchtower here while we are doing drone monitoring in the area. These figures shows the distribution numbers of infrastructures by states in Malaysia. Based on the figure, Pahang has the highest number of infrastructure, which is 110. From that, there are also some other initiatives applied in the peat fire prevention and monitoring program, which are the first one through like a clay dike construction. Second one with a piezometer, in order to measure the groundwater levels. Third one with drone monitoring. This is used widely in Malaysia to monitor the area in order to ensure there is no open burning activity in the surrounding area. And lastly is on the fire danger rating system. This is an early warning system for peat fire through the analysis of weather, and it is interpreted into index, weather index. This program also provides some allocation to our DOE's state office, organize awareness and community programs to local residents, especially on vision of open burning in peatland areas. I'd like to show some photos of the infrastructures we have built in our peatland in Malaysia. The first one is on the check dam in Selangor. Of check dam that we have, Johan Setia Selangor. In Kelantan, other check dams in Pacuk, Kelantan. This is check dam in Terengganu. Dam in Setiu, Terengganu. And this is example of tube wells we have in Johor. My left hand side and my right hand side is in Johan Setia Selangor. Piezometer that we built in Johan Setia Selangor. And this is a type of water reservoir that we have for compartment 12 and 17 in South Kuala Langat Forest Reserve. Very helpful to to reduce the fire breakout during dry season and help our fire department team very much to control the fires in South Kuala Langat Forest Reserve. Another example, we also have pump and also water reservoir in Raja Musa Forest Reserve, compartment 98 of Raja Musa Forest Reserve. This is pump house. You can see here, at my left hand side is the pump house. Pump house and also water reservoir in compartment 99 of Raja Musa. This is type of watchtower that we have. First three watchtowers here in Selangor, Pahang, and also another one in Selangor. This is rugged type. And also we have in Miri. This is a bit different because this is also used for recreational activity. And we also have another one in Kelias Forest Reserve in Sabah, which is also as the same structure as in Raja Musa Forest Reserve, which is rugged type. This is water pipeline that we have in Raja Musa Forest Reserve that bring in the water from ponding outside, a pond outside the forest reserve, and bring it inward, bring it into the Raja Musa Forest area in order to wet the area. And this is very helpful, especially during the dry season and when there is a fire breakout in Raja Musa Forest Reserve. Okay, that's about it. Thank you very much for listening. Now, I'll pass it over to you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you. Okay.
So thank you very much, Puan Mashita Darus of DOE for your presentation on the Peatland Fire Management program in Malaysia. And so with that, thank you to all of the panel members for your presentations. And now we're going to move to the panel discussion and Q&A session. So let me ask the organizers to invite all of the panel members to the panel. So we have Dr. Vong from the ASEAN Secretariat. Unfortunately, Ms. Susanti is called to a meeting with the minister, but she'll be represented by Pak Askari from the Ministry of Environment and Forest. Welcome, Pak Askari. And then Ms. Mashita from the Department of Environment. Unfortunately, Datuk Puat is also unable to join as he's in a meeting in Langkawi in the north of Malaysia and unable to join the panel session. But I think we have a very distinguished group of panelists, and you've heard from their various presentation about the great breadth of information being gathered and also action being taken to prevent peatland fires and transboundary haze in the ASEAN region. So maybe for the first question that we've received, I'm going to ask to Dr. Vong from the ASEAN Secretariat. Seasonal fires and transboundary haze remain a problem for the ASEAN region. In the future, this is going to be compounded or made worse by climate change. How will the ASEAN approach the future direction of peatland management and sustainability? Dr. Vong?
Thank you very much, Dr. Faisal Paresh, for important question about what ASEAN doing. I think the audience may refer to my presentation, specifically what ASEAN doing. I think look from the legal sort of standpoint, we have ASEAN Agreement on Transboundary Haze, which is the main document to guide our implementation and cooperation, not only with ASEAN member states, but also the way we can mobilize the support from all the partners. With that, we have also the roadmap itself, and also specifically for ASEAN Peatland Management Strategy. That is the way we can address the issue of the peatland issue. As you may have noted, they have also the specific governance structure within ASEAN, looking from the HAZE and also Peatland, the ASEAN Peatland Task Force. That's always with us to address the peatland issue. Now we are at the juncture of the to review the ASEAN Peatland Management Strategy. This is a great opportunity that the way we can see how best we can do more for peatland management in consideration of the frequency or the occurrence of the seasonal fire, and also the threat of the climate change as an extra threat to our region. So with that, I think from the APMA, I mean, saying to the Global Environmental Center, they also did this thorough sort of assessment about the ASEAN Peatland Management Strategy. With that, I mean, number of recommendations that's clear, as you can see in my presentation, about the policy, about the capacity building, cooperation, and so on. So it's a number of things that ASEAN need to do in terms of comprehensive sort of approach that the way we have to deal with. I mean, one of the things that the public and also other stakeholders should consider about the public and stakeholder engagement. So this one is not because the peatland itself, I mean, you look at overall thing, maybe you think that belong to the private sector, belong to the company, belong to the community, belong to the state. But I mean, in general, when the thing impact with the haze issue, that is impact to everyone. With that reason, I think the most important right now, we need to think about the holistic approach, the way we should contribute, and we have to do more. With that, I think the question of the multi-stakeholder engagement is still the fundamental issue that we need to prioritize and try to find way how to work with that. And with that, I just would like to highlight one thing about this climate change as one of the threat, but also opportunity, as today's session about the nature-based solution. So we believe this really provide opportunity for the stakeholder. The stakeholder can be state, can be non-state, can be individual. I mean, leadership in innovative solution within your cell, your agency. It's really important to guide the success of peatland management and the forest or the fire in the region well managed and prevent. I mean, it's not just only saying, okay, this is ASEAN, but it's all. I mean, we think regionally, but we act locally because the thing happen, you know, like the flame, it's happened from the small thing. But if we not manage from the small thing, it will be escalate to the region. So the same thing, we think regionally, that the way we can support, we can have. The most important that is we all need to act and do a proper in terms of leadership, innovative solution. And particularly one of the things to look at is nature-based solution from the climate change opportunity window. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wong. Let's move to the Pak Askari representing Ms. Susanti. There's a very specific question. You mentioned in the presentation about the active groundwater level monitoring in the different peatlands throughout Indonesia. And the question is, where can the public obtain information on the groundwater level monitoring in peatlands? And secondly, in the presentation, it was mentioned that provinces and districts have developed a peatland ecosystem protection and management plan. How many of these have been developed, and what is the scope of those management plans? Who is responsible for implementing that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The first one regarding the groundwater level monitoring on the peatlands. So we have two separate systems for monitoring of the peatland groundwater level. The first one is for the concession holder. So this is the system is already established, what so-called the CIMATAC 0.4. So we can monitor daily and bi-weekly. For the manual one is bi-weekly monitoring, but for the data logger, we can see that for every day. This system is still limited for access because it's a matter of the compliance on the regulation that we have in our country. But for the peatland groundwater level monitoring for the community area, it's open for public. That can be accessed through the website sipalaga.brg.go.id. So we can see there for the public area, but for the concession area, it's limited access. And then also that now several areas, at least 3 provinces now, they already has established what so-called the Peatland Ecosystem Protection and Management Plan, or the RPPG. At the national level, we have the decree by the Minister of Environment, which is number 246, year 2020, where we have a long-term planning for the protection and management of peatland in Indonesia, which is for 30 years. So it will long last until 2049. And then for every province and also every kabupaten or district, they also have to develop the LPPG, or the Peatland Ecosystem Protection Management Plan. As I said, that for the example, the Kalimantan Province, Kalimantan Tengah Province, they already established under the decree of the governor. Riau Province under development. Aceh is already ready. It's just waiting for the sign of the governor. And also several districts, including the Pelalawan and Indragiri Hilir, Indragiri Hulu, and also in the Kota Waringin Barat, several others that we can share also the document if it is needed. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Pak Askari, for that response to the questions. Let me ask to the third panel member, Ms. Mashasita. Does the Department of Environment provide any standard operating procedure to relevant agencies so that they're clear on their respective role in relation to peatland fire prevention?
Thank you, Mr. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Farish. Yeah, actually, we do have SOP for this program under Peatland Fires Mitigation Program. Yeah, the purpose of this SOP actually is to coordinate, to have better coordination among the agencies in order to mitigate the fires, yeah? Starting from the prevention and also during fire breakout, and also what to do next. And this agency's coordination, the SOP, we lay down the specific action need to be taken, especially for prevention. Yeah, and we have to forecast as well when the dry weather. Yeah, and what to do. What to be done by each agency before the fire occurs. That's why we have the program on peatland mitigation measures, such as construction of infrastructures, in order to make sure that the wetland, the peatland is wetted, yeah, and have enough water in order to reduce fire, yeah, and also to prevent fire from happening. And on top of that, this SOP also describe the method and guidelines to the agencies in implementing the prevention program. And it also provides some information in terms of contact numbers, yeah, the person in charge from each agency, who is the contact person, yeah, so that we can communicate each other when anything happen. Yeah. And also general information on peatland infrastructure maps, and also the location of infrastructure. Yeah. And the success of this program very much rely on the response time by each agency, and also cooperation from each agency, which is related to the program. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Parish.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Mashasita. Dr. Vong, can I ask another question to you? And this is about the potential role of the private sector. From your understanding of the different challenges and the land management by the private sector within the ASEAN region, what role do you expect or you hope for the private sector to be playing in the prevention and control of peatland fires and transboundary haze, as well as the sustainable management of peatland areas? Thank you.
Thank you very much. But I mean, as you may have noted, ASEAN Secretariat and ASEAN as a whole, from the governance and management, you refer to the presentation that I made. So we're not really dealing with the private sector directly. So we recognize private sector contribute very importantly to the peatland as well as to other resource management. I mean, from the our MASA program, the stakeholder mapping analysis and the stakeholder sort of platform establishment, this is the way we can mobilize and engage different stakeholders, including the private sector, that is come to different scale. I mean, it's it's a big company or corporate or just a community-based sort of a level of company. That's the way we can mobilize different sort of level of private sector to take part in the peatland management from the root cause as the way we identify from the production, from the production standpoint, that the way they can do importantly in terms of promote good practice for their business and project implementation. I believe that the way we engage ASEAN with the private sector, this not only understanding what they are doing, but we understand also about how difficulty or hardship they are facing, what sort of enabling policy and the financial and so on that they're looking for, and what sort of collaborative approach that we can do together between the public and private. So with that, I think that the way we can have this shared solution and shared vision about the importance of peatland and how we can promote this sort of resource to be used sustainably and also contribute to the climate adaptation and resilient, as well as the contribute to important GHG emission as a carbon stock and sequestration. So that is, I think, private sector play very significant roles, not only as the right resource usage, but also in terms of market kind of product. I mean, in terms of supply line system where they can come in and then apply whatever the best practice of the producer. So they are contribute importantly to shape and to frame the business operation in the right way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vong, for that. Let me pass to Pak Askari. We have a question from the audience. What is the government approach in Indonesia to balance the need of community who depend on the resources of the peatland against the enforcement of the regulations? I think you mentioned, was mentioned in the presentation about special programs for communities, but how do you balance between the law enforcement and the community participation? Thank you, Pak Askari.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Faisal. Regarding the question, so basically there are 4 approaches that we implement for restoration of the peatland ecosystem in our country. The first one, we have to bring back and restore the water. We have to conserve the water. The second one, we have to bring back and restore the vegetation. The third one, that we have to improve the community livelihood. This is the key factors because they are the actors in the field. The fourth one, we have to implement the law and enforcement so that this should be implemented simultaneously regarding how to overcome the problem in the peatland area. The approaches in balancing the needs and for the community and also the resources of the peatland itself, we have the program also called the Desa Mandiri Peduli Gambut, or the community independence and care about the peatland. So the Desa Mandiri Peduli Gambut. So this is a kind of bottom-up approaches, bottom-up planning, so that all of the planning is not come from the central government or the local government, no, but from the community themselves. We have each of the area, the desa, the village, we have recruited 2 facilitators to accompany the community in develop their what's so called the first one is what's so called the IMAS, identification and analysis situation regarding they have to do the what's so called the rapid rural appraisal to identify what's the problem in their area. And then they also have to establish what's so called the team, the TKPPG. Sorry, the TKPPG, Tim Kerja Perlindungan dan Pengelolaan Ekosistem Gambut. This team that they will involve and in charge in develop all of the activities will be carried out by the community in the area. The third one, they will have to develop what's so called the RKM, Rencana Kerja Masyarakat, the community planning, how they will utilize the peatland area in their area. And then all of the activities will be embedded in what's so called the RKM or the community planning. Then before they implement this planning, they have to expose their planning in front of the local government agency, such as the agricultural section and then the planning bureau, several other institutions, to see whether their proposal is suitable in the term of environmental point of view, in term of economic point of view, and also in term of the sustainability of their livelihood. So they have to do the exposure. Then we will give some money to implement their planning. So after the exposure, so that all of the ideas has been poured out, then it will be selected well, so that we know exactly that the proposal which is from the community is suitable for the peatland area. So this is the way, the approach that how to balance between the needs and also the enforcement of restriction of the use or the utilization of the peatland area. So it's kind of the planning together, because we try to avoid say one direction, one way, because community sometimes they just want to have a long-term shopping list. They want this, they want that, but we have to review also in the technical point of view whether it's suitable or not, because they already have the experience. So that's the way we implement our program in our country for the community. But for the concession holder, different approaches, which is like a stick and carrot approaches. So we will appreciate what they have achieved, and also we will give the punishment if they break the law. So that's has been also described by Ibu Ati in her presentation. Thank you, Mr. Faisal.
Thank you very much, Askari. Very comprehensive answer, and I think a well thought through process for the community engagement from the bottom up to get the good result. We know it's a big challenge in many cases. Ms. Mashita, also another question a bit related to the private sector or the individual land owners in the peatland area. Is there a requirement at the moment, or maybe in the future, should there be a requirement if someone wants to develop or to start some activity in peatland, should they be required to provide the necessary infrastructure to prevent peatland fires? This would be for plantation companies or other type of developers in the peatland area. Is there already such a requirement, or would this be something to consider in the future? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farish. Actually, as per a law requirement, it's not yet in the law, environmental law, but administratively, in some cases, in some area like in Pahang, our Department of Environment, Pahang, already requested the plantation owner, in order for them to develop the area, they should put up infrastructure for prevention of fires in the peatland. And we also have collaborated with MPIC, Ministry of primary industry and commodity, because they are the governing agency on the plantation, whereby they have guidelines for this plantation owner, if they want to develop the area, especially for oil palm plantation, they should put up their facilities such as canal, block, and also tube wells in the area. Yeah. It's very difficult for us to govern the private sectors because the land belongs to them. And some more in Malaysia, land management is under the purview of state government. Yeah. So now Department of Environment, we started communicating with relevant agency in the state, yeah, so that they can show some commitment and also follow through, especially when it comes to peatland, especially the peatland that doesn't belong to anyone. The one that Faizal mentioned just now was belong to private entity. We also have problem with peatland which doesn't belong to anyone, and it belongs to the state government. So in these cases, this peatland always occur fire, yeah, and it is some more remote in a remote area and very difficult for fire suppression. That's why it's very important as a whole, whether it is a private entity or state land, yeah, ownership, there must be a lot of communication and commitment from both sides in order to prevent, yeah, dryness of peatland, so that it can cause any fire later on that cause haze, especially under the purview of DOE. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. As mentioned before, we'll just have one final round of 1 minute each for comments on the key message for the way forward, starting with Dr. Wong.
Thank you very much, Pak. I think from ASEAN Secretariat side, I mean, as the same, like I said earlier, my point is still strongly focused the engagement of all of you as part of the solution. And with that, this is the way we can provide consistent and coherent policy direction for ASEAN region in order to address the sustainable management of peatland. So it's not only just suppress or prevent the future fire, but also to address the economic growth, the livelihood of the community, and also resource-based sort of development as well in terms of biodiversity and also peatland resources. Thank you very much, Pak.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wong. Pak Askari, a final message or key point to the audience?
Thank you, Mr. Faisal Paris. So that regarding the protection and management of the peatland, that we have to put this is our responsibility, all of the parties. So we have to do coherently, we have to do collaboratively between each of the parties, the community, the government, the private sector, and all of the like NGOs, all of the parties that should involve to do they're responsible on the how to carry out the peatland management and protection, because through this way that we will have a quick solution instead of one institution, so that through these approaches we hope that we will try to elevate all of the peatland management in our country. Thank you.
Puan Mashita, final comment?
Yeah, we hope that with the review of our national peatland action plan, yeah, in Malaysia, that we could do better in terms of managing our peatland, as mentioned by Dr. Wong just now, whether engagement with the community, whether to overcome the haze or to restore, or to ensure the sustainability of the peatland. Yeah, it's very important to have a proper management and also engaging a lot of parties, yeah, as mentioned by the fellow panelists, yeah, because the success of sustainable peatland management is not only rely so much on the government, but also the engagement with a lot more parties and good collaboration and readiness, yeah, to overcome the problem. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mashita, and thank you to all of the panel members. I think this has been a very useful and important session. I'll just make a few summary notes of the session that we've had over the last 2 hours. Initially, from Dr. Wong from the ASEAN Secretariat, we've heard about the importance of the peatland in the ASEAN region and the challenges in management of the peatland as well as the transboundary haze. We've also heard about the comprehensive management plan and strategies that have been developed, including the ASEAN Agreement on Transboundary Haze Protection, the ASEAN Program on Sustainable Management of the Peatland Ecosystem, the roadmap towards a haze-free ASEAN, and other mechanisms. Although those have been initially driven by the government framework, ASEAN is keen to engage with a broad range of stakeholders and see that as a critical way forward in the future to engage with the private sector, the community, research, and other stakeholders. Secondly, we heard from Ms. SPM Budi Susanti of the Peatland Directorate of the Government of Indonesia, who shared the very comprehensive work undertaken by Government of Indonesia for peatland management throughout the country. I believe this is the largest scale peatland management program in the world, with a very ambitious target for re-wetting and better water management in large areas of peatlands. What she mentioned that it has been very comprehensive and covered many of the different provinces in Indonesia with peatland areas. And I think reaching a total of more than 3.6 million hectares of peatland area, which is managed under private sector. So particularly different plantation types have achieved improved water management, as well as more than 40,000 hectare of areas under community management. So this is very large scale and comprehensive. And I think that also the different management system that we've heard from the CIPEG, the CIMATEC 0.4, very comprehensive system for tracking and monitoring in real time, as well as manual reporting of the water levels, which can then be used as a decision support tool by the government to track those areas vulnerable to fire and take necessary action. Lastly, within that, we heard about the comprehensive approach to address communities through the so-called TPPEG system, the local peatland management team, which has already been established in 230 villages across the country. And again, that is a model, as I think described on the panel by Pat Escari of really building from the bottom of the needs of the community and getting a comprehensive understanding together with local government and then providing some seed funds. And I think that this would be a very good model which can be applied in other ASEAN member countries, but also elsewhere in the world, because often with the peatland management or government regulation, it's often top-down instructed to the community. But I think Indonesia has also looked at the bottom-up mechanism to link that. In our third presentation, we heard from Datuk Puat of the Forest Department of Peninsular Malaysia. He shared the experience on management of peat swamp forest and peatland landscapes in Malaysia. He emphasized the challenge in Malaysia is that land is a state matter, but that the federal government can provide technical support, and through certain mechanisms such as the National Land Council can set clear policy frameworks, but that the implementation needs to be undertaken at the state and local level. Forest fire is still a significant threat, and it's important to address the issue. He did highlight the importance of indigenous and local communities, that they often depend on the resources from peatlands, and that the rehabilitation needs a multi-stakeholder support. Lastly, in our presentation from Ms. Mashita Daras, we heard about the root causes of peatland fire in Malaysia, ranging from drainage and human activities of land clearing, but also of campfires and discarded cigarette and so on in the forest, leading to large-scale problems. About the big challenges faced for the fire control because of the difficulty of access to many of the peatland areas. And then the new program initiated in 2009 under the ninth Malaysia Plan and continued till now and extended in the new 12th Malaysia Plan to support peatland fire prevention and monitoring in fire-prone areas. Started off in peatlands, but also including some other areas. The new approaches which are being brought in under that program is a standard operating procedure, which is a requirement for all of the related multi-stakeholder agencies involved, which clearly spells out responsibilities and actions by the agencies, as well as the use of a fire danger rating system, or FDRS, through which a fire weather index is generated on a daily basis and provided to key stakeholders to support the program. Lastly, she mentioned about community program has also been recently started through the state offices of the Department of Environment about engaging the community, but she also called for a more comprehensive approach. And I think we have some good ideas from Indonesia about what those could be to fully engage community in the action to sustainably manage peatlands. Overall, I think from the session today, we have many experiences and lessons learned that can be shared amongst the ASEAN member states. Indonesia clearly has the largest area of peatland and the biggest program that has been established, and there are many lessons learned and guidance and good practice that can be drawn from that or adapted to the country. Malaysia has been active in peatland management and fire prevention for more than 10 years and is now expanding into looking at an integrated approach. One key message everyone has been emphasizing: we cannot just leave this to the government to sort out. This peatland management, fire and haze prevention is a multi-stakeholder requirement. Everyone needs to be engaged: the government, the private sector, the local government, the local community, the NGOs and civil society, and research institutions all need to get engaged in peatland management. And only then can you have a more comprehensive and complete approach which will be successful. If you just leave each sector, agriculture, forestry, urban, to do their own thing, it will not take place. And in the context of now where we are 16 days away from the Conference of Parties number 26 of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which will be really looking at the key direction forward for greenhouse gas emission control and adaptation to climate change, and crafting the new critical direction to put the world on a sustainable pathway to address climate change. I think we need to highlight within the COP26 and the related forum about the critical global importance of peatlands as the most important ecosystem globally for carbon storage, and the very high risk to global climate if peatlands are not sustainably managed or restored globally. We hope at the global level they will take up the very good practice from ASEAN of developing a regional program or strategy, as well as the active country action plans, and really the implementation, practical implementation on the ground that we have seen in Malaysia and Indonesia to really change the paradigm and to go from a severely degraded system with massive fires and haze to a re-wetted system with multi-stakeholder engagement. So I think that is the key way forward, and that peatland management indeed can be a key nature-based solution to climate change in Southeast Asia. Finally, my thanks and the thanks of the organizers to the ASEAN Secretariat, the International Fund for Agriculture Development, IFAD, the IGEM as the co-host and technical organizer for the session today, the Ministry of Environment and Forest of Indonesia, the Forest Department of Peninsular Malaysia, and the Department of Environment of Malaysia for your active participation in this session. And to all of you as the participants, we have more than 80 participants in the session today. I hope that all of you will take the word and lessons learned from today's meeting back to your colleagues. We'll be making the information from today's session available. This will be available online in video format. But if you need any of the other information shared or other information, do contact us as the organizers, and we will try to make that available to all of you. So thank you again for all your participation, and good luck for the future in the sustainable management of peatland resources. Thank you.